do what you want to do in life, and I'm not here to hate, but like, are we really in 2026 still chasing the vanity of strangers' attention on social media? I mean, come on, guys. There's people who you might think are way ahead of you, and if you peel back the data and you ask them and you talk to them and you get the truth, you will be surprised and you'll be dumbfounded at the complete irresponsibility of some very high earners. And honestly, that's way more common than you would think. So, some people with less income can end up way more rich and higher net worth than people with more income. And that's just a blatant fact. It's like a very American thing to be super salary focused, and not so much the true measure of wealth, which is net worth. Okay, and there's a very big difference between those two things. And so in this video, I really want to talk about that. The main idea is that your income is not your wealth. And if you operate with the assumption that how much you earn is kind of your wealth, and that's sort of how well you're doing financially, it's just not true. And it's could be hugely detrimental to your wealth building journey. And really, if you believe that, you're probably not on much of a wealth building journey to begin with, right? So let's talk more about the problem here. Basically, the problem is that a lot of us, we get our first few jobs in our 20s and we're starting to work that career ladder and we see the corporate path, and then we're surrounded by our peers and we see, oh, this guy's driving this car and I basically work his same job. Like, maybe I should work on, my shitty car and drive a nicer one. Or like, oh, this person's going to Coachella. Like, why can't I afford to go to Coachella, XYZ? Or maybe it's even just like eating out, going to the bars, like whatever it is, everyone's got their own thing, So the situation I just framed up is basically, what a lot of people do when they get their first job, and they start to kind of just tailor their spending to their environment and their peers, right? And that is really, I think, the main problem, okay? And at the core of the problem, at its core, whatever is causing it, like basically you're spending your income, right? And you're not building wealth and investing your income, right? So that is the core of the problem. And we can all kind of debate and look into what the root causes are. But at the end of the day, the main problem with this topic is that, your income is not your wealth, okay? Your income is a potential force you could redirect into building wealth. But if all you do is spend it, for XYZ reasons, you're not going to build wealth. And I mean, that's just it. That is the core of this issue. And it's a huge issue in America, frankly. It really, really is. So what is the solution? Well, I'm going to give it to you simply and plainly. You can't let your lifestyle follow the path of your income, right? You have to just keep your spending lower than your income. I mean, it is dead simple, and accounting is a bulletproof, there's no wiggling around it, okay? You need to spend less than you earn, okay? And that's really what it's all about. That's what produces your margin, okay, which is what's left over after your spending and your income. And that's what you use to actually build wealth. And that's what you use to invest and build a portfolio, right? And so that is basically the solution to the problem. You got to spend less than you earn. But I want, and this is kind of nuts and bolts, basic personal finance type stuff. But it's important to cover because really, pretty much everyone around you in America is not doing this. Like, if you look at how many people follow the money guys on YouTube, for example, compared to like whatever other bullshit is out there, it's just crazy. And if you just look at the stats of like average retirement savings and, average net worth by age and all this stuff in America, I mean, there's a lot of spending going on and not a whole lot of investing. And we're not even touching on the whole Caleb Hammer like credit card debt thing, which we all are aware of as well. So income is not wealth, okay? Income is not your wealth. And this can lead to a very interesting thing here where there are actually a lot of people who may earn a lot more money than you. And if you are a diligent investor and you watch your numbers and you simply sacrifice certain lifestyle elements when you're young and you live a little humbly, you can be way richer than people who make a lot more money than you. And it's just kind of this crazy thing in America where income is really not a huge indicator of actual wealth and net worth. And it's just something you're going to have to grapple with. And so whether you're on the higher end of the income spectrum for your age or on the lower end, I can tell you, you have a choice to really determine where you are on the wealth spectrum. Okay, and it's all about sacrificing a little bit for today to build that great, big, beautiful tomorrow, as the money guys say, which, by the way, you guys should go follow the money guys, obviously. So that's the basic big picture idea here. And it really is interesting because if you are one of those middle income earners for your age and you're feeling behind, but you have the audacity and just you've got the proven ability to just spend less than you make and kind of really flex that muscle, start getting those index investments built out, get that portfolio built out. It's crazy how much richer and how much greater your net worth can be than a lot of your peers who appear to be all, super successful. They're making a ton of money for their age. They have a nice car. They have, these awesome trips they post on their Instagram all the time. And as a side note, we all know how vain that is, right? I mean, who in 2026 is still like all about that? I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm all about share, do what you want to do in life. And I'm not here to hate. But are we really in 2026 still chasing the vanity of strangers' attention on social media? I mean, come on, guys. Come on. So, and I'm trailing off here a little bit, but the main point is there's people who you might think are way ahead of you. And if you peel back the data and you ask them and you talk to them and you get the truth, you will be surprised and you'll be dumbfounded at the complete irresponsibility of some very high earners. And honestly, that's way more common than you would think. So, some people with less income can end up way more rich and higher net worth than people with more income. And that's just a blatant fact in America. And, yeah, it's just something to consider. No matter where you are in the income spectrum, you need to think about that, because if you're not creating margin and investing some of your income towards, your portfolio, you're not building wealth. You're just attached to the consumerism cycle, let's say. And that's really, going to touch on a whole nother theme here, but there's really kind of two major class systems in America, right? You either have enough assets that your survival can be met and your well-being can be met by the growth of your assets, or you have to work to survive and pay for your life. And those are really the two types of people in America. And it doesn't matter how big your salary is. If you spend it all and are not building wealth and you don't have a portfolio that can pay for your lifestyle, you are just as much, let's say, a slave to the economic system as anyone else. And so, again, you can chase salary, and I'm not saying salary is not a very important element of your wealth building journey, because the more you earn, the more you can invest. I'm not denying that in the slightest. But you got to see my point here, that unless you build a portfolio and are working on that snowball of that compound interest, you're really just as much a slave to the system as anyone else, right? And that's really, the goal, right, is the financial freedom, so that one day you don't have to do work that you don't want to do, because you've built a portfolio for yourself that is going to take care of your needs and your wants. And, that's basically really the two classes of people in America as I see it. Again, like, someone who earns less than you may be more humble, better at investing consistently, and has done their research about their portfolios, and is basically gonna end up free, and you are not, because you are spending all your shit. And that's just that's a reality in America. I mean, there are so many high earners who just spend it all. And so, yeah, of course, income is not wealth. We got to invest as much as we can to build true wealth. And the very interesting part about that is, although we all want a higher salary, if it doesn't move towards a portfolio, and if you're not creating that margin, your higher salary isn't going to really do you much good in terms of creating financial freedom for yourself. You will always be essentially a quote-unquote slave to the system. So yeah, if financial freedom is your goal, you got to work on that margin. And, that's about earning more, but it's also about spending less. So always remember those two forces is, you want to earn as much as you can, spend as little as you can, and that's how you create margin. If all you're doing is focusing on earnings, and you just consume all the money you receive, you're never going to build that leverage and that snowball of compound interest. So salary is not the only thing that matters in your wealth building journey, let's say. And then the final point I want to make here is one about being humble, because this is really, okay, what do we do about this? And, we've already touched on it a ton, but being humble in your early 20s is such an opportunity. No one cares. No one cares what car you drive when you are 25 years old, okay? No one cares if you are living with a bunch of friends in some cheap apartment and you are, driving some beater car to work. No one's going to judge you, and really, who cares? It's honestly, it's fun. Like, who cares? And another thing is, like, you don't want to be acting all successful in your early 20s, or really any time in your 20s. You never want to act successful anytime, but especially in your 20s, like, who even cares? Like, what do you think when you see some 20-year-old in, like, a nice-ass car? Do you think, oh, I love that person. I bet, like, they worked really hard to get that. Like, I mean, I don't know. I guess it all depends on our own internal mindsets, but I don't think anyone feels great and super, like no one sees some 20-year-old in a super nice car and thinks, awesome, I love that person, And maybe I'm like projecting a little bit here, but I honestly think that the play is to be as humble as possible, because no one cares anyway, and it's really a huge leg up for you building that margin and building that portfolio, which is real wealth. So as your income grows, keep that lifestyle in check, keep your spending low, stay humble, and then you'll be on the path to real wealth, because income is not wealth.